Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Gerry, joined today on the show by, I've got Terry and Max here. All right, we're forming a trio to talk a lot of Everton-based things. Let's continue with the United Extra Time segment. For those of you who have been asleep all weekend long, game ended 1-1. So, didn't have to, but it did. So really quick, there's a really big defining moment that happened at the end. We're going to save that for the end of this particular segment. We're going to save it for the end. Let's get all that in. Let's talk about the actual football match first, and then we'll get to the nonsense. All right. So basically, we had a 16-14 advantage in shots. I think both teams had a similar shot total when it came to being on target. We had 44% possession, 13-8 advantage in corners. We played a lot. We played a pretty strong second half, frankly. And honestly, if you were watching that second half, you would say, yeah, they had a goal coming. I think if you're watching that, you watch the momentum. Yeah, it was all right, guys. So, Max, let's let you kind of get things rolling. If you want to talk about who you feel like played a solid match, and we'll kind of gradually get toward any kind of other folks that may have disappointed. We'll get there later, but let's talk about some positives first.
Positives being that the starting 11 surprised me with the performance. I don't know if you saw my tweet that I put out there before the game. Obviously, when I've seen the starting 11, I thought, a little bit suspect. I would have much preferred to see Mason Holgate partner Andre Gomez in central midfield and have Yerry Mina in there with Michael Keane at the back. Not exactly against Tom Davies. The lad's living me dream, a blonde lad that wears his socks low running around Goodison Park is literally what I wanted to be when I was younger. So, nothing against the lad, I do love him. But given just how well Mason Holgate played in central midfield at Old Trafford, obviously being a central defender by trade, he would have provided that defensive cover to Andre Gomez, who was making his first start following that horrific leg break, and it's just absolutely incredible the fact that he's back after 3 months. So, again, Gerry, if you're going to look for like a positive from an individual perspective, Andre Gomez all day long. Didn't look out of shape, didn't look scared, just back to absolutely dominating in the middle of the park. Funnily enough, on the way to the game, I was a little bit late getting picked up, so I literally had to sprint from County Road to my seat. Managed to get in there just in time for the goal, so absolutely bizarre from Calvert-Lewin. And I think now you can safely say 15 goals this season. Probably the Lukaku replacement. Numbers don't lie. For him to be hitting 15 goals, I think it is exceptional, and just goes to show what a changing system can do for individual confidence. I do think, however, it would have been a completely different story if he'd have gone on and scored that one-on-one just a few moments later after his first goal. And I think it's just quite typical of a player in form like himself. He can grab a goal like that first one where he's just running and willingly closing down, but the 1v1, which you should expect to be his bread and butter. Obviously a good save from De Gea, but you'd like to see your centre forward putting them away. We didn't play too badly. I think obviously because we spent that chance. Man United had then applied the pressure. Matic hit the crossbar, which fantastic game of football. And again, I think where my concern comes in at the fact that Mason Holgate wasn't in the midfield. Bruno Fernandes, the game that me and Tom were ranting and raving about in the preview for the game, like, you can't allow someone of that quality so much time and so much space. You can't stand
I got the same thing written down, man.
Yeah, so and Gomez and Davies didn't quite have ground on him, and so that I think that's where my point stems from. I would have much preferred Holgate, maybe even Delph in there to sort of do the defensive work. But yeah, as you say, it was a good game from both sides' accounts, really. Criticism of Pickford again, I do think it's harsh. that double save he made in the second half is one of the best things I think I've ever seen from a goalkeeper, period. Like, it was just absolutely sensational.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutted about what happened at the end, but we'll get on to that.
Yeah, when I mentioned players who were struggling, I started writing some down. And then as I kept writing down, I was thinking, okay, well, this player did, I can think of individual moments where they struggled. And then I can think of other moments where they actually did okay. I didn't see where any particular player where you're like, they were the bad one today. You know what I mean? I felt like it was more of a gray area for a lot of players where there were moments of brilliance and some mediocrity. It was there.
Yeah.
So Terry, let's go to you before I mention some other stuff. Anybody in particular, surprise you in a way where you're like, yeah, that was awesome, or anything, or anyone where you're thinking, well, I didn't really like the fact that person started, or anything like that? Anything about that before we kind of get a little bit more specific?
Not so much surprises. I mean, the lineup was a big change, but I'm not surprised at this point. Like, I've just come to accept this is what Carlo seems to be doing. Whether he's doing it for now, in the view for the summer, or whether he's just going to do it full time. He changes the squad a lot, and he picks lineups that you wouldn't expect, and you certainly wouldn't pick yourself. But there's a reason behind all of it. You can see why Sidibe and Mina were dropped after last week. They made mistakes. I think if we had a stronger squad with that supports had a lot more confidence in, we'd be a lot more on board with it. But because people have seen every player have bad games this season, it's harder to get your head around. The two forwards again, they're just the boys, aren't they? Like, Max said there that the replacement for Lukaku seems to be Calvert-Lewin, but the two of them together, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, are the goals that Lukaku used to score, and we've now got the same thing, which obviously we need to address going forward. But we used to have one player who scored all our goals, and now we've got two players who score all our goals. So if you could spread that out even more, that's even better. But we used to play with one up front with Lukaku, now we're playing with two. So we just they are the replacements, and they're both in, white hot form at the minute. Like Calvert-Lewin, he knew nothing about his goal, but De Gea's caught napping on him, and Solskjaer alluded to it. Like, Calvert-Lewin chases everything. I think he said he chases paper on a windy day. It's like you can't be that lax when you've got players that energetic, snapping at you, and he's paid the price. After we scored that goal, United did get a good grip of the game. They didn't, we obviously the follow-up chance for Calvert-Lewin. I feel quite sorry for him, because that is a top-class save from De Gea. Could make it 2-0 there. And it's mad that he doesn't score from that, but scores from the first one. But, basically United got into the game then, and we just didn't live with Bruno Fernandes. They had, obviously, I think it was 4 central midfielders on the pitch, so what they surrendered out wide, which nullified their strikers because they were pulling wide to assist. They had all the advantage in central midfield because Gomez and Davies were just overloaded completely, and Fernandes always found himself as that free man, and we did pay for it with the goal. Now, Pickford can do a lot better. I'm reaching the end of my rope with Pickford. I mean, De Gea is and Pickford like mirror images of each other at the minute. They are always liable to put drop a clanger or put one in their own net, but then they'll come out with an absolutely unbelievable reflex save, which people, for some people that redeems them in the match. For me, it's like, no, I don't want to keep it like that. Like, I'd prefer the keeper to do what he's capable of and just do the great saves and not, jump over the shots like he's done in the past 2 games, the past 2 home matches. So we get in a half-time. Half-time was a bit of a blessing. I thought we were lucky to get in level. Man United weren't making chance after chance, but they were having a much better go of it, possession-wise. Come out after half-time. Whatever Ancelotti had done at half-time did the trick. We were far more in control of the game. We had far better chances from that point on. I mean, Max said before that living the dream, Tom Davies, little blonde lad with his socks pulled down, running around Goodison. Well, Luke Shaw's living my dream of a big fat fuck playing as a Premier League player. His tits in the wind. That shows us there's hope for even me yet. Because their fullbacks couldn't live with our.
Can you warn me when you're gonna do that? Oh my gosh! Sorry, I just.
Yeah, so we had better of it in the second half.
That's premium content. You're missing out if you don't listen to this show.
Yeah, he's a hero to us all, Luke Shaw. Anyway, yeah, so we had much better of it in the second half, and then obviously towards the end happens, the training cone hit the post. I've got to say as well, I criticise him when he doesn't do stuff. I've got to credit when he does. Yeah, but you tell you what, Man United should sign Sigurdsson because he found Harry Maguire's head on every corner. So they should buy him because that would be a brilliant tactic for them to have. But he hit the post and was the reason we got the free kick. I think it was that one we'll go into as we get to the last bit of the game. But yeah, could have had 3 points. We didn't. Shall we talk about why?
Before we do, I want to give credit to Michael Keane. He's often thrown under the bus, but I thought he did play exceptionally well, especially considering we were opting to play out for in the back. Receiving centre half, receiving the ball in the keeper's area, and I thought he did exceptionally well. I do, however, think that we missed the trick not playing Bernard from the off, and we could have possibly brought Moise Keane on a little bit earlier to allow him to impact the game a bit more.
Yeah. I was worried about Keane in this one, but the match kind of played out, or as in Michael Keane, the match kind of played out in a way where it kind of benefited who he is and how he plays. It worked out well for him, that was awesome. I thought their goal was a joint effort from several parties. It wasn't just Pickford, not making that save, but additionally, Sidibe's pass was not on target. Walcott maybe could have wrangled that in a little bit better, and we didn't pressure the shooter. That's not just one mistake. That's several mistakes. It takes a village, and that was man. That was frustrating when I watched that back. I was just when I saw so many different spots. It's not one of those where you're like, oh, he loses his man and the guy scores. That's easy. No, this is several, and I think you can fault all of them. But then we're talking about a lot of other players who actually had other moments where they shone within the match. Immediately I jumped to Pickford, like you mentioned earlier. That was really disappointing. Yeah, there was some wicked movement on that ball, but you still think he should have been able to bring that in. But then what does Pickford do later? He friggin' looks like a Spider-Man making those. It was ridiculous, those saves. Where I was loud watching that one. So anyway, so let's dunk our toes, just barely, just dip our toes in to the VAR ocean. And again, for those of you who didn't watch this one, you missed quite an ending with Everton scoring a match-winning goal in added time, and then it being disallowed by VAR for offsides because Sigurdsson supposedly was impacting the line of sight of De Gea. So just to kind of go through the moment, Sigurdsson actually goes in for quite a shot, pretty close range, and just gets decked as he's shooting it by Wan-Bissaka. So that's probably a foul. The ball ends up popping back out to Calvert-Lewin, who plays it. Was that ball on target? Was it going at the goal, guys? Do we know?
Yeah, it was on target.
Because I've heard some people say that it was not on target.
No, I think it was on target. I think obviously the Maguire deflection changed the path of the ball, which has ultimately deceived De Gea. but he could still see the ball.
He had his eyes on the ball the entire time. Watch the man's head. He watches the ball the entire time. Okay?
The official view will be that it was on target, where it's quite hard to tell considering how far it travels before it deflects, but because it's on target, so they don't, they've ruled it out. If it's off target, I think they count it. So they obviously think it was on target.
Yeah, so then there's the whole, some people are saying it's the fact that Sigurdsson moved his legs to let the ball in, and that distracted De Gea, made him look at Sigurdsson, which is not true. He's literally watching the ball the entire time, doesn't have a prayer of saving it. Is not going to save it. He sees where the ball is going, but he makes no movement to try to save it. So he knows what's going on the entire time. All right? So I got to be honest, guys. This is one of those where when I hear people trying to give, like pundits, actually trying to take the side where the VAR decision was correct, I really try to be objective to try to take all, and it just sounds stupid when people are explaining it. It's really agitating because it's like they are trying to be contrarian and to be a know-it-all, when in reality, most know-it-alls know very little. All right? You're telling me this particular conversation, which so many people fall on the other end of the conversation, this is a clear and obvious error by the official, by the match official. All right? This is the same problem we've had over and over, guys. It's the implementation of VAR, okay? VAR is a tool, right? It's a tool. You got a knife. A knife can be a very useful tool helping you survive, but also you could stab yourself with it and stab other people in the eyes, all right? So the thing is, this is a tool. It all depends on who's using it. And I got to be honest, right now, like, I don't know. We haven't even talked about the fact that Carlo got red carded at the end by this doofus who told him to disappear.
The thing with the goal is, right, so Sigurdsson gets his chance away, it's saved, and then he's hacked down by Wan-Bissaka a second after. So the ball, so ricochets out off the save. Calvert-Lewin picks it up, shoots, and it goes in the net from Maguire. So the VAR pulls it back and then reviews the offside, but why does it not review the original foul? It's like
the foul. It's what my issue is. Partially first, I think you should say, like, I do think it's absolutely ridiculous that a fantastic game of football has been completely overwritten by this, VAR controversy. It was a fantastic game of football, both teams hitting the post and, really hotly contested. But just to add to your point, Terry, what frustrates me so much about the VAR call is that the officials have looked at it purely from a Manchester United perspective. They've not factored in the fact that Sigurdsson's been absolutely taken out. I'd hold my hand up and be like, right, okay, he probably took a hard fall and is a bit winded as to why, he's just sort of like rolled over onto his side. If you're nitpicking, lad, just get off the pitch. Even if you have to roll, just get off the pitch. Again, as you say, Gerry, even if you, at a descriptive level, it's pathetic, isn't it, when you like talking through it? Because at a time in the Premier League, particularly when you're competing for the European places, like 3 points are so valuable at the minute, and we've lost out because the officials, and it makes perfect sense. VAR is a tool that can be used to protect the product.
It could be great. It could be something that's enhancing the game. That's the thing that's driving me just batshit, guys. It's the fact that it could be making things better. It could be improving things. But instead, what they've done is used it for the exact same reason they didn't have it before. Everybody talked about how all the big six don't want VAR because that would mean all those chances that are favorable are not going to go in their favor anymore. But guess what? The officials are still doing it, and at this point, it's like they're just pissing in our faces.
Yeah, I mean, with that decision, it's like, remember Man City where there was they were checking for a penalty whilst the player was offside when he was fouled, they were checking for both, weren't they? I can't remember the player, but basically a player went through to the Everton goal and was fouled, but the flag had already gone up. So like the team sort of stopped playing. It's like, why can't they check both? Well, was he offside? Yes, by the letter of the law, he's offside, central to the goal. De Gea can see the ball the whole time. He watches it, goes to the right, then watches it ricochet, then goes to the left, but can't get to it. But Sigurdsson still is directly central with the goal in an offside position. Okay, well, that's not advantage then, because we've collected the ball and not had any advantage from it. So you take it back to the initial foul. So we either should get that penalty or get the goal, depending on the referees or the VAR referee's discretion. It's just completely bonkers that it took them 2 seconds to look that up and go, right, which is the way that is more favourable for Man United, which is basically what they've done. Like Max said there, they looked at it from the Man United point of view, not looked at the whole incident. They just totally ignored, which is what a lot of these pundits that you alluded to, Gerry, are all doing. They're sort of pretending this foul and Sigurdsson didn't happen. And how long did they look at the Dele Alli handball before getting it wrong and not giving it? They looked at it for about 4 minutes, and then still got it wrong. But with this one, no, that's fine. He's offside. Well, yeah, he is. What about the foul? No, he's offside, guys. He's offside. It's over. And then obviously, what was it you said before, Max, off camera about the first team of firsts once again?
It was a tweet from Jim Keegan, who I know we've had on the show previously. He put a tweet out saying the first club to have a player punished retrospectively for diving, which was obviously Omar Niasse a couple of years back against Crystal Palace. The first club to have a penalty incorrectly awarded against them via VAR, which was the Michael Keane incident at Brighton. The first club to have an own goal ruled out for offside by VAR, which is obviously the Maguire own goal. And the first club to have a manager red carded, which I'd like to do some digging into, because I don't know about that one, but I think the point still stands.
There's been plenty of managers have been sent to the stands, but I think with this new, you can book and red card a manager. Like it's the optics of it. I think the way it looks, like he's the first one to get a red card, and the others have been just sent to the stands in the middle of the match.
Sure, but to be an Evertonian, who'd do that?
But should we get to the referee after the game?
The magician's apprentice telling Carlo to disappear. You know what I mean? It's just. I mean, here's the thing. I feel like if you want respect, you have to show respect. All right? It would be very simple for him to say, "Okay, here's what the person in the booth said. Here it is." Okay? He could have said that. But instead, he's sitting there telling him to disappear because he's big manning him. Okay? He's acting like, I'm bigger than you right now. I mean, sorry.
That's Carlo
Ancelotti. Yes! That's what I mean. I'm thinking the same thing.
Chris Kavanagh, a Manchester-born referee, we need to add, had an appalling performance. He just generally just didn't really have control of the game. There were plenty of calls that were awry, to say the least. Obviously, I think something that Maguire obviously come out with after the game was that, it was important that the officials didn't get caught up in the emotion of the moment with all us going ballistic. I think I flew about 5 rows forward when that went in, but the referee, obviously the goal's been disallowed, full-time whistle eventually, and it was just, obviously ringing out in boos. Goodison was a bear pit. I think he just wanted to get off the pitch as quickly as possible. Ancelotti, rightly so, has gone up to him after an explanation, but he's just not got very good managerial skills to just, as you say, Gerry, his mannerisms, his sort of cockiness. What was that? What was the analogy you used for it, Terry?
It wasn't mine. I nicked it, but basically he's standing there like you've all met that policeman or that bouncer or that school prefect. That look on his face, like you can see him on camera going, disappear now, and Carlo's going, no, I won't disappear. I want an explanation, and he goes, gives that sort of that huff face, and then gives it like, get out me face, gives him the red card, and he was just embarrassing all game. He booked Sidibe for coming back on the pitch when he was next to a linesman after he'd been injured. he gave a free kick to us when Fred hit the ball with his knee, saying it was handball, and he was right there looking at it, so he had a good view of it. He was embarrassing all game. I mean, well, it wasn't him who gave the VAR. Like, the VAR, he gave the goal, and the VAR's overruled him. But he sent Carlo Ancelotti off for asking for an explanation, and he's on camera, so there's no like foul language or anything like that. But Fred chest bumped him over that handball, and nothing said. So you can chest bump the referee, you can surround him like the Man United players do. I'm not 100% sure this was him, but like, so Klopp last season sprints onto the pitch while the game's ongoing. All that's fine, but if you ask a manager, if a manager asks for an explanation on a decision and is upset, you red card them with like a pissy look on your face, if to say, who does this guy think he is talking to me like that? It's like, I hope and I feel that he'll be another Clattenburg now. He won't ref a game at Goodison for a few years just because of the unnecessary aggro it'll cause, because he was absolutely diabolical. He's cost us, him and John Moss in the VAR booth have cost us 2 points there and a good home win against Man United just for being incompetent.
Yeah.
And I'm getting fed up of saying it. It's just so regular. It goes back years, but just over the last 2 years, how many times we're on the wrong end of poor refereeing. It's just getting beyond a joke now. Yeah,
I heard someone say Ancelotti was trying to talk to someone in the crowd, but the referee was just in the way.
I saw that.
In his eye line,
yeah, my wife actually said she absolutely loved the fact that Carlo had like no reaction to the red card. He just turned and walked off. No like anger, no anything. Just kind of turned around like and I was like, yeah, because he's a badass. You know what I mean? Because he's the real gangster in the situation. All right?
That was the only positive from that whole situation was just more Carlo goodness. Like, I love him. He's been to Bootle Strand today for some reason.
I know. I've seen that.
Gerry,
one of the people.
It's not the best of places. It's a pretty grim shopping centre. There's much nicer places you can go. So, but yeah, I mean, I love Carlo. It's like, this is what we were missing with Marco Silva. Can you imagine Marco Silva? He'd just ran down the touchline and got the kettle brewing for the referee in his room. He'd have been waiting with a cup of tea for him.
That's what we've been waiting for, is somebody who actually stands up for the club. We want somebody to stand up for us, to basically say, hey, call out the fact that this sucks. All right? Call out the fact that this is not just. It's not fair. There's brutal evidence here. And the referees just get to, hang out scot-free. And you know what? The league has come out and said some of the calls against us in the past have been wrong. They said that. But how does that help us now? It doesn't. Because nothing has been changing. It's the same stuff. So I'm glad, Carlo, keep calling out these simpletons. I'm down with it. All right? So we should move on, because this has been a beefy segment. So anyway, that's been our United Extra Time. It's the people who have VAR in their clutches that we're struggling with at the moment. Not really the VAR itself. Anyway, if you've been digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. If you want more Max, you can check his Twitter out, when and where he's going to be places. But he also has the Carlisle podcast, in which he's doing a lot of interviews with people in the business of football. So keep an eye on that. Because it's one of Max's passion projects, and you should check it out. All right. Also, if you want more Terry, I don't know if you can find him in Bootle for hugs. See, it just rolls off the tongue, me saying Bootle. You know what I mean? It's very natural. I'm working on it. So anyway, but we are talking about the most huggable man in England. So seek and destroy his arms with a big one. So anyway, also check out his Twitter. He'll let you know when and where he's going to be. Liverpool Echo fan Gerry. They let his brain drop Everton knowledge on there all the time. Guys, let's move on. Let's talk about Leighton Baines. Here's something that was good from that match. So let's move on to that, and we'll talk about it in a minute. Bye.